4 years ago, Dr. Skinner, the greatest genius in the world, invented a miracle medicine called Hapna. It was the ultimate painkiller that made humans completely immune to any sort of pain. Since it was cheap and had no side effects at all, it instantly conquered the global pharmaceutical market. Hapna became the medicine that saved the world. But then one day, Skinner vanished without a trace, and no one knew what he was planning. Unbothered by any of this, 23-year-old Axel Gilbert is currently serving a sentence of 888 years in prison for a whole lot of crimes. He doesn't seem to be bothered by it at all. One morning, as he is doing his regular gymnastics routine, the prison guard tells him that he has a guest. The guard leads Axel to the meeting area, where a middle-aged woman named Hers is waiting for him. Axel has never seen her before, so he asks her if she is a lawyer trying to get fame by helping him, or if she is a hitman sent to silence him. Hers tells him that she is a bit of both, but that is not important. She tells Axel that she is here to ask a favor of him, and if he agrees to help her, he will be a free man. Axel is curious about what she wants, and Hers asks him if he knows about Hapna and Dr. Skinner. She tells him that Skinner vanished 3 years ago, but now he is suddenly back, and his single message has sent the world into chaos. Here shows Axel a video that is simultaneously uploaded on every platform in the world. In that, Skinner declares that if one cannot feel pain, he is basically dead. He calls humanity a dead species because of its dependence on Hapna, and says that he always felt that humans were a terrible species that focused only on short-term gain and destroyed their environment in the process. He declares that humans do not deserve to keep on living and spreading misfortunes wherever they go, and that is why he developed Hapna. Skinner says that Hapna was never just a painkiller. He had specifically engineered it to remain in the human body once it was consumed. After waiting for 3 years, it would turn into a poison that would kill anyone without fail. There is no way to remove the toxin from the body, and humans will start dying after 30 days. However, before ending his message, Skinner says that he has a cure for Hapna, and if someone can find him within 30 days, humanity can still be saved. This video creates panic and chaos throughout the world, but Axel couldn't care less about it. Hers tells him that she knew Skinner personally, and in the past, he was truly a saint. She tells him that the favor she asks of him is to find Skinner. But just then, the prison guard arrives there to take Axel back to his cell as visiting time is over. Axel gets up pretending to cooperate, but then he suddenly pushes the guard back. The guard draws his gun in response, but Axel uses his acrobatics to disarm and then knock him down. He then picks up the gun and points it at Hers. Before the rest of the guards can do anything, using her as a hostage, he gets the guards to take off his handcuffs and then makes a run for it. Jumping over delivery robots and avoiding the guards trying to capture him, one guard grabs his legs. So Axel throws him 2 stories below and then climbs up another floor, where more cops come to stop him. Axel easily beats them, and then jumps across the railing, going to another part of the prison to escape. But another guard is waiting there for him. The guard presses his throat against the metal railing. However, Axel pulls on his necktie, slamming his head on the metal and escaping. After knocking down a few more guards, Axel climbs up the prison walls and shoots the grills of an air vent to open a path for himself. He reaches the roof of the prison facility using the vents and starts running away, but Hers calls her driver, Doug, to follow him and make sure he is caught. Doug and Hers begin chasing after Axel in their high-tech car, and she orders their tech support, Elena, to keep an eye on all police communication and GPS in case they find Axel before them. In the meantime, chaos begins spreading throughout the world. After Skinner's video was revealed, riots have started in many places, with people setting pharmaceutical companies on fire because of their anger at Hapna. Even as the US government and all the governments across the world gather their best scientists to analyze Hapna and find a cure, the hope of finding a cure within 30 days remains very faint. All the pharmaceutical companies recall Hapna from their outlets, and the global share markets fall terribly. But none of these things concern Axel, who is just chilling on the streets like he didn't just escape from prison. A cop suddenly stops him because of his prison uniform, but Axel just tells him that it is the latest fashion trending amongst youngsters like him. The stupid guy totally believes him, and by the time he gets a report about a prisoner breaking out of jail, Axel is already in a clothing store to get a fresh outfit. Meanwhile, in the city of Babylonia, a high-ranking government official tells hers that they are trying to analyze Hapna. But even the collective efforts of the world's best scientists are not enough in front of Skinner's genius. Hers says that their only option is to find Skinner, and she has almost assembled her dream team for it. But the last guy is currently on the run. She promises that she will find him by the end of the day, and the official tells her that her team might be humanity's last hope. A few hours later, as Axel is strolling through a railway station, the security cameras identify him as the fugitive, and all the screens immediately display his picture while telling him to surrender. He takes that as a challenge and begins running through the station, dodging the cops and security drones. However, Elena, the tech support, is notified about that, and she immediately contacts the rest of Hearst's team about Axel's location. As Axel is out, Parker away from the station, the biker girl Chris rides toward his location, while Doug goes to pick up Leland, the last member of their team. Axel jumps through buildings and rooftops, dodging and smashing the drones on his way. But Elena predicts the place he will go in 5 minutes, and Doug asks Chris to be ready there. He tells her to steer Axel to the north and tells her that she has the permission to open fire on him, and that is all Chris wants to hear. She waits for Axel to finish showing off his acrobatic skills as he reaches the roof of a building through a construction zone, and as soon as he is in her range, she starts shooting at him. She deliberately misses to make him run away from her to a place where Doug is already waiting for him. Doug tells Leland to support him with a drone and then climbs up a building. Soon, Axel reaches the rooftop of the same building with no place to jump to. Doug points his gun at him, telling him to stop immediately. Axel puts his hands up and tries provoking him so that they engage in a close-range fight, but Doug already knows about his tactics. He tells Axel that his taunts won't work and asks him to surrender because there is no way out for him now. However, Axel tells him that there is always a way, and then jumps from the roof. Doug panics because he was not expecting that. But then Axel grabs Leland's drone and uses it to land safely on a truck. He gets on the ground without any problem. But just as he is about to escape, Chris calls out to him, clicking his pictures cheerfully. She acts like a fan, saying that he just gave the most impressive Parker performance she has ever seen in her life. She demands a selfie with him, and being a closeted show-off, Axel can't say no to her. However, that turns out to be his only mistake, as Chris stuns him using her bracelet, and Axel is knocked out cold. When he wakes up the next day, he finds himself in a barber shop, with Elena hiding in a corner. Axel is confused about what is happening, but just then, the rest of the group arrives there. The mirror in front of them turns out to be a screen, and through it, hers welcomes Axel to Team Lazarus, the people who are going to save humanity. Axel immediately tries taking off a bracelet on his hand, but Hirsch tells him that he can't take it off, as it is a tracker that will let her know where he is at all times. Axel takes a quick look around the room and finds that everyone has a similar bracelet. He realizes that everyone here is some sort of troublemaker. Hirsch tells him that this is their golden chance to turn from fugitives into heroes. She asks Axel if he doesn't want to be a free man and live however he wants. In response, he just does a handstand to surprise everyone and then jumps towards Chris, stealing her gun before she can realize it. He points it at her head and tells Hirsch to get the bracelet off his hand if she values her team. However, Hirsch is not falling for his tricks again, and she shocks him using the bracelet, making him drop his gun. She then warns Axel that if he tries to remove the bracelet forcefully, it will heat so much that his arm will burn. Also, if something happens to her, all of them are going to suffer the same thing. Axel realizes that she is not bluffing, so he quickly agrees to work with her, and Hirsch is pleased to hear that. She ends the video call from her end, And then Axel says that if they find Skinner, they should sell the vaccine for Hapna for a very high price. Chris agrees with him immediately, but Du shoots down the idea, saying that they are not here for personal gains, but to save the world. Axel replies that being this timeline's version of Avengers isn't bad either, but before starting, he asks if anyone in the team has ever used Hapna. Turns out all of them used it either as a medicine or to get high. After that, Du shows Axel around their base, clearly telling him that he doesn't approve of him. Axel doesn't care about that, but he cares that despite being this world's Avengers, their base is a rundown barbershop. However, he soon finds that the rundown appearance of the shop is just a disguise, and it is protected by a powerful electromagnetic barrier. Next, Doug takes him to their garage to show the way to take out their cars, and then they return to do their first team briefing there. Doug tells everyone about Skinner's life history from his birth to college life, but Chris interrupts him because she thinks that is the boring part. She asks Doug about Skinner's personality, because that will help them find more about him than the useless trivia. Doug gets pissed at this, but he still obliges with her request, revealing that Skinner won the Nobel Prize 3 times but donated all the money to charities. He lived humbly and even abandoned the patents on his inventions so that everyone could get them for cheap. After that, Hirsch joins the group and tells everyone that Skinner was a great advocate for peace and equality. He tried to pursue the world leaders multiple times to do better, but he never got the response he wanted. She shows the team a video of Skinner addressing the United Nations General Assembly, warning them that in 3 years, the ice at the North Pole will have suffered irreparable damage. He asked everyone to focus their efforts on protecting the Earth rather than economic growth, but many countries left the meeting in the middle of his speech. After this failed attempt at convincing the world leaders, Skinner suddenly vanished. The team says that Skinner sounds too good to be true, and then Leland digs up some old social media posts where he was caught helping strangers around the world. No one understands why a good man like this is trying to end humanity, but Hirsch says that it doesn't matter. No one has any clues about Skinner's location since he vanished, and she tells the team that they must be the first ones to find him.
デニス・スキナー、12歳の時に紛争で両親を
天涯孤独ってやつですね。
学生時代から次々と目覚ましアインシュタイン以来の天才と。
そういうことよりさ、
スキナーはノーベル賞を3度受賞してるが、
彼は平和運動やひときわ気候危機には強い懸念を抱いていた。そのことを訴え続けていた。これは有名な国連でのスピーチ。
私の計算では、私はただがそれは始まりに過ぎない。雪崩のように地球は崩壊していく。北極の氷は溶けて消失する。誰も住めなくなった地球でどんな経済活動をしようというのか。
Suddenly, Elena interrupts her, saying that she might have found a lead about Skinner. The rest of the group immediately leaves their base in their fancy cars, while Elena and hers stay back at the base. Elena tells everyone that 8 years ago, Skinner bought a survival shelter from a company that cannot be reached through calls or the internet right now. Hers tells Axel and Chris to check out the shelter and asks Doug and Leland to visit the company headquarters. She then orders Elena to access as many security cameras around the world and run facial recognition scans for Skinner, despite the possibility that he might have changed his appearance in the past 3 years. On one side, Chris asks Axel what he was in prison for and how long his sentence was. As soon as he tells her that he has to stay in prison for 888 years, Chris freaks out and pushes him out of the car. She points her gun at Axel, saying that she is not teaming up with a psycho who has such a big prison sentence. Axel asks her to calm down, and Chris asks what kind of horrible crimes did he commit to deserve that sentence. He tells her that he was initially sentenced to just 3 years in prison, but it got doubled each time he broke out, and before he realized it, it reached the current number. Chris is completely dumbfounded on hearing this, and asks why the hell did he break out of jail so often, and Axel replies that it is his hobby. On the other hand, Leland is curious about how Doug ended up on the team. He replies that he just did some small crimes that landed him in jail, and Leland says that he also did some petty thefts that landed him in trouble. Doug calls him a noob, and then tells him that if there is someone who really committed serious crimes in their team, it is Elena, who was a notorious global hacker. Leland doesn't believe him at first because Elena seems like a quiet and shy girl to him, but Doug tells him that she is the biggest wild card in their team. Soon after that, Chris and Axel reach Skinner's apocalypse shelter. and Leland and Doug reach the company's headquarters. They find that both the places look abandoned, unaware that someone is waiting to ambush them at the company office, and the shelter has already been searched by another party. Doug and Leland enter the company's headquarters and find that the computers were working recently. As Leland tries to search around the place, a man takes him hostage and asks Doug to tell him where their boss is. Doug doesn't understand what the man wants, when suddenly a fat guy breaks into the building with his gun pointed at Doug, telling the owner of the company to come out if he doesn't want his employees to die. Everyone gets even more confused at this, but then Doug realizes that both the guys here are debt collectors who have business with the owner of the shelter company. On the other hand, Axel and Chris go inside the empty shelter and find that the power generator is still working. They begin searching each room but find nothing, so they continue their search. And then, suddenly, they feel that someone is hiding around the corner. They find a man unconscious on a chair with empty bottles of Hapna lying at his feet. They immediately corner him and wonder if he is Skinner after getting plastic surgery, and Axel decides that the only way to find out is to wake him up. However, before they can do that, someone starts shouting in Russian and shooting at them. Axel and Chris hide in a corridor, and then suddenly another group arrives there, yelling in Mexican and shooting at the Russians. Chris worries about what is going to happen next. But Axel starts enjoying himself. He shows off his pendant, saying that it is his lucky charm that keeps him invincible, and then runs right in the middle of the room, unbothered by the bullet storm. Chris thinks that he is crazy, but she has no choice but to support him in dealing with the gangsters and the cartel members. They manage to knock them all out and reach the guy unconscious in the middle of the shelter. But just then, the DEA and the FBI arrive there to arrest their targets. They tell Axel and Chris to drop their weapons. But Axel tells them that he is from Lazarus and asks them to drop their weapons instead. Everyone gets confused because they have never heard of Lazarus before, and then Chris turns on the lights so that everyone can see what is going on. Just as she does this, the man in the chair wakes up and immediately falls on the ground, apologizing to everyone and promising that he will return their money back. He clings to Axel's leg, begging him to save him, and in return, Axel punches him hard enough to make him bleed. He then does an instant DNA test to confirm that he is not Skinner, and all the parties in the shelter are disappointed. It turns out that the guy was the owner of the shelter company, who was hiding from the debt collectors in Skinner's bunker. On the other hand, Leland hits it off with the debt collectors after hearing their stories, and Doug receives a call from Chris, telling him what happened at her end. He feels that the search mission is not going to be easy, but he has no idea how difficult it is going to get in just a few minutes. Back at their base, Elena suddenly finds Skinner on a security camera footage. But then, suddenly, thousands of cameras around the world begin showing Skinner's face at the same time, confusing both Elena and Hirsch. This is the end of Lazarus, Episode 2. Thank you so much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest content. See you in the next video.